Many of his roles were as villains, often in spooky subject matter. But did you know Vincent Price spent a lot of time in Amhertburg? Starting in the 1910s, the Price family would visit the area every summer and even bought a home there. When Vincent Price achieved fame, he never forgot Amhertburg and maintained lifelong friendships with several locals. This Hollywood connection is the subject of a new exhibit at the Marsh Historical Collection. To find out more, we're joined by Reg Reiner. She's in her studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. This is fascinating. How did Vincent Price's family come to spend summers in Amhertburg?
Yeah, so his grandmother on the maternal side, she and her husband, they moved to Amhertburg actually in 1902, and they built a house on the waterfront. And a little bit later, Grandma Oliver's daughter, who would be Vincent Price's mother, she also came to Amhertburg. They bought a property a few doors south of where the grandparents were living, and then they built a home right there on the north end of Laird Avenue, and so it became their summer home.
Is that home still there?
Yes, it is still there. We get lots of people asking if it still exists. It looks different. There were quite a few renovations done over the years, but it's still at the very north end of Laird Avenue, 40 Laird North.
I wonder if people are aware of it, or the people who live there get visitors often coming to check it out?
Yeah, I don't know if they have people just popping in there, but we do. A lot of the locals know about it. You know, we get people that come in and say, "Hey, did you know this fun fact that's Vincent Price's house?" But then there's a ton of people that don't know where it is, and we get asked about it quite a bit.
What time period was it that Vincent Price would have been coming to Amhertburg?
Yeah, so his parents, they built the house there in 1910, and then Vincent was born in 1911. So, right from early childhood all the way through until he really launched into his acting career. They didn't actually sell the property until around 1936, I believe, so.
And I understand Vincent Price got his feet wet in acting in Amhertburg.
Yeah, so he apparently, he became good friends with the Marshes, who were named after. So she wrote in one of her columns in the Amhertburg Echo about the fact that he would act in the Christ Anglican Church street fairs in Amhertburg. And then we also read stories about events being hosted at the Price house, which they actually called Vinmar Lodge. That's how it was known locally, and that was a combo of his parents' first names, Marguerite, and his father's name was also Vincent. At Vinmar Lodge, there was, in 1917, the local chapter of the Imperial Order Daughter of the Empires. They had a sort of a spin-off of Midsummer Night's Dream, and Vincent is listed among the cast with a lot of other Amhertburg kids.
You mentioned his connection to the Marsh family, and I understand he wrote letters to them over the years, but he signed a different name.
Yeah, so Bink was his nickname, and that's usually how he's referred to in the local paper. I guess that's how the kids knew him. And I know that we at first thought that was just an Amhertburg thing, but in his daughter's biography about her dad, she also calls him Bink. So,
do we know where Bink came from?
No, but I would love to know. Need to do a bit more research on that.
You brought some items with you that will be on display. Do you want to explain what you have?
Yeah, so I have one postcard with a group of children, and it was taken on Boblo Island in 1921. Of course, kids loved Boblo, and Vincent's in this photo as well as one of his sisters, Laura Louise. So his siblings also made connections in Amhertburg too, but of course we hear mostly about Vincent. And then we also have a portrait of Vincent that he sent to the siblings, John and Helen Marsh, and it says, "To Helen and Johnny, love from Bink." So that's just a couple of examples of the things that we have because of the Marsh family's relationship with him.
What else do you guys have on display?
So other than mostly items that the Marsh family collected, I actually got lucky. Just last year, I went to an estate sale in town and was looking through bookshelves and just took out a novel off the shelf. And when I opened it, it was a copy of Lorna Doone, but on the inside was Vincent Price's book plate, and it was signed by his mom, and then it said given to Helen Marsh in 1921. So that's a book that he had gifted to her. Yeah, and then there's some correspondence between the Marsh family, and then we also have copies of things that we've pulled together, like from the newspaper. So ads when his movies were playing in Amhertburg at the Liberty Theater there. So of course they would announce that to his friends, and he appeared in the news quite a bit. So we have a lot of news articles where everyone in town wanted to, keep up to date on what he was up to.
Some interesting artifacts have come to light through this, but have you had any interesting stories that you learned that you didn't otherwise know?
For sure. So every time I tell someone, we're doing this Vincent Price display, someone in town has a story. So that's part of this display. We're collecting more information. We have a board, so we want people to share their anecdotes. But one that I came across was, it was actually from a newspaper article, and Harry Spearing, who was a boy that grew up in Amhertburg, apparently he came across Vincent Price in some trouble in the water in Big Creek, which was just south of Amhertburg. And Harry Spearing had to go in and pull him out. So he has his story that he saved Vincent Price's life. And then there's other stories later. His governess of many years was in the nursing home in Amhertburg. And just a year before Vincent died, so 1992, this huge flower arrangement arrived there. And everyone was going, where are these from? They were pretty exotic flowers. And Vincent Price had found out that she was there and sent this arrangement back to her to just say thank you for all of the years she spent with him.
Those are great stories.
Yeah.
He had such a reputation for spooky projects, horror genre. And I must know, because it begs the question, is that why this display is in October?
It definitely is. Yeah, we've been waiting for the right moment to do it, and it seemed like October, spooky season, perfect for the King of Horror. So,
how long is the display on?
Just until the end of October. October 31st, we'll take it down.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.